Oh, this is just going to be really hard. This is a rough topic. It's going to annoy most people who watch this because YouTube is skews male, and this kind of targets the men. So the question for today is: will the mindfulness environments, all of these new kind of workshops, all of these new practices, will that become an opportunity for peacocking games for men? Now, a peacocking game is something where you are able to show off your colors. You have enough luxury, you have enough spare time to adorn yourself with beautiful plumage, or that's in the animal kingdom. And yes, we do it. I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts here today. But here's a little bit more of an insidious version of it. There's a great paper on luxury beliefs. I can't remember the exact name of it. I will link it in the description below. But it goes on about luxury beliefs that only the upper class can survive kind of adopting. And therefore, it is a signal to everyone else that you are upper class. And then the lower class people try to be upper class, try to adopt these systems, and actually it just pulls the rug from under them and leaves them very disheveled and disorientated and not understanding what is going on. That lens can actually be used for quite a lot in the world, but for today we're really going to try and refine it down to these peacocking games and just the kind of more explicit versions of it. So one example of these luxury beliefs, and then we'll go back into the mindfulness environment, but one example of the luxury beliefs is polyamory, the ability to be with multiple people. So historically, monogamy has always been the case, but for the king, he was able to have mistresses, and that had to be navigated because there was a certain amount of social shame, and there was etiquette that had to be followed to have a mistress. But we've taken off all of that now, so your upper class are openly being able to be polyamorous. Now, ironically, usually this kind of tapers off and they end up in a monogamous relationship, but regardless, maybe not, and all the rest. But the purpose is that the ability to believe that free love and all of this stuff indicates that you're comfortable enough in life that you can have such a perspective. And then for the people who try to pick that up in the lower classes, who might have to, I won't get too much into details, but maybe you're in like a city where it's difficult to rent, and at a certain age, like buying a house, you might need a partner. Like there's a certain amount of like practicalities here that might be afforded in the like real financial space, but honestly just in the emotional and kind of stability sense of having a stable partner, having a stable social group, having the stability to move forward, to have the freedom to actually go ahead, to keep going. Monogamy kind of works best. But so that's an example of a luxury belief. Here's a little bit of a more fun one, which is veganism. Now I say that tentatively, but if you are listening to this video, you are more than likely in the West, and you definitely have a little computer in your hand, which means that you are in the like 1% on Earth, which means that you would find it very difficult to convince someone at the lower tiers on a global scale, so in like your third world and all the rest, trying to convince them to be vegan. It wouldn't necessarily work. So that's the landscape that we're in. So the question is, mindfulness, is that a luxury? A certain amount, yes. Now, let's give the pros and cons to this mindfulness experience, this mindfulness renaissance, this mindfulness movement that is trying to get us to be a little bit more humble, God forbid, and to just take a step back and look at our own reactions rather than kind of just reacting and playing whatever games are out there, like the oppression Olympics, or just playing victim the whole time. Like, it's a powerful game. There's a lot of people playing it. Oh man, that's a minefield and a half. But so mindfulness, geez, I probably shouldn't link those two together either. That's a terrible link. But mindfulness is more like, okay, if I take this on the individual level, it becomes so much easier. Mindfulness does help with interrupting patterns. On a collective level, there has to be some collective movement. So let's allow for that. Man, I think I just lost a leg. Minefield, as I said. Regardless, let's focus back in. Hopefully you give me enough grace that that explanation kind of works. Collectively, grievances should be brought up. Individually, grievances need to be voiced, but maybe responsibility and maybe just mindfulness to take a step back and say, what do I really need right now? Do I really need your attention, or do I really need to feel like I'm heard? Or do I really need to feel secure? Or do I really need just time on my own, or whatever else it is? But in those cases, it can be the most empowering thing to be mindful. So, is mindfulness a luxury? Still kind of, yeah. If I'm not meeting Maslow's hierarchy of needs at the very bottom, it's going to be hard for me to kind of reach the top. But we do have your starving artist. We do have those archetypes. So I'm being a bit facetious here. I am saying that mindfulness is a luxury, but coming home to yourself, finding security, finding a space of rest, a sense of home in yourself, for some people is essential. For myself, it's been unavoidable, or actually it's been avoidable for a long time, but it's been essential to really kind of nurture and to really kind of delve into some deeper questions that not everyone asks, perhaps, or into like the details that definitely no one needs to go into, because I've deconstructed far too much. And I don't mean in a healthy way. I mean like going down a rabbit hole and spending 2 hours down there when 20 minutes could have done the job. But so again, it's a luxury. That is a certain amount of luxury there. But for some people, that exploration is essential. And historically, we've always gone to church. We've sought a higher power. We've sought a spiritual home. We've sought a grand narrative, something that unifies us, something that brings us together. So it's also not a luxury, but it's tender. It's difficult to know this. So here's my red flag that I use when I'm going into a workshop. And this is going to annoy anyone that's remaining on this video. If the workshop seems Instagram orientated, I'm out. That's it. That's my blueprint. That is my blueprint. If this workshop is not an education for me right now, but is a performance for the general public or for this persona that I have online, that's a hard no, a hard pass from me. Again, there's grey in this, because we are at the start of whatever this movement is. There will be far more mindfulness coming into the world in the next 5+ years. It will become saturated. It will become totally flooded. So for people trying to make a business, trying to survive in this space, because they are giving their life to it, it's kind of important. And the monk option isn't really an option anymore. It's hard to be the hermit in the woods, because there's no woods left. There's no wildlife left, and land's really expensive, to put it in its most bleakest terms. And I'm not saying it was ever easy, but just it really feels like it's not an option anymore. So staying in society, there is a certain amount of survivability that is needed. Also, we are at the start of this, and we want to get the seeds out. We want to disperse the spores. Hey, look, it can help you in all of these different ways. You're struggling communicating, here I am. You're struggling with emotions and digesting, here's breath work. You're struggling with just your internal speak. Okay, well then here's your family constellation therapy, or internal family systems therapy, sorry. Actually, either one, they're two different therapies, apologies. But regardless, we want to get the word out. There's so much healing needed. There's so much to be done to make us feel more at home in ourselves, to take the steps away from trying to fill the void by buying stuff and eating stuff and consuming stuff and entertaining ourselves and numbing ourselves with every sensation we can get our hands onto. But which is the Western way, unfortunately, and is not the only thing about the West, but it is certainly a part of the West. So, with all of that said, we want to share photos. We want to show people what's on offer. We haven't been in touch with traditions or rituals in decades. So, showing what the ceremony kind of looks like, showing what the ritual kind of looks like, has to be done. But for me personally, I do feel there's a difference between being Instagram centered and just affording Instagram a space for me. So I'm going to invite you and just ask you to tell me how you are discerning this space. Does it need to be practical? Do you need to kind of produce something, either so producing something, maybe something creative? Does it need to be some bit productive, in touch with nature, harvesting, working with the land, working with the plants, working with the animals, whatever it is there? Does it need a certain amount of tradition, where you're trying to revive some sort of flow, some sort of relationship with some aspect in life? You tell me, what exactly are the needs here? Like, what are the parameters where you say, that's a phony, this guy's real? This guy's in it trying to get attention, trying to get the... Man, he's loving the attention. He's like, he's standing in the middle of the circle. He's talking to everyone. He's really soaking it up, man. His ego's getting stroked there, left, right, and center. Isn't he such a charm? Or someone who's holding space and is maybe still getting all of the attention, but is serving something higher. Is the best way I can phrase it. Again, I've been chewing on this for a while, and I find it really difficult to get into the details. I can tell the intuition. I can kind of give these parameters for what affords a non-peacocking sort of mindfulness event, but giving hard and fast rules, really hard. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, I'm really curious if you could message me personally, or you can leave a message below on what are your red flags for a phony, for a fake, for someone who's into it for the acclaim, who's into it because it's fashionable, who's into it perhaps as a peacocking game to invite the female gathering towards him. Best way I can say it. I'm sure there's better ways I can say it, but it's the best way available to me at the moment. So with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for your time and attention, and I will see you again next week. Bye, guys.